Whoa. Music just went goodbye. Hello. Hi, everyone. Hi, Jenga. Hi, Chunky. What's up, Dennis? How's it going? Whoa, relax. The orange one is near me. How's everyone doing? Happy through. Whoa. Relax. A little feisty. How's everyone doing today? Good morning. We're doing the normal table flip where we're not building a TTRPG. We're actually going to be learning a TTRPG, which is Shadowdark, and we're learning Shadowdark because we got a little community one-shot going on next week, and Myriad's got to learn how to run the system before she puts on a one-shot. So here we are. How's everyone doing? I got to learn as well. It's pretty easy. So I've played Shadowdark before, but you know, playing and actually running it is very different. But I've played Shadowdark before, and as a player, it's very easy. It's very similar to D&D. It's like D&D light. What's a table flip? Well, this little segment is normally when we go over and we do flip throughs of TTRPGs. Lately, though, we've been obviously doing the table flip section has been about making our Mass Effect TTRPG, but I am currently in the middle of fine-tuning a lot of the stuff that we've already written out. So we have been, we decided we're going to go back to the ways of old and learn some TTRPGs. Trying to kick this cold and researching Faraday cages for an AP. What is that for Faraday cages for an AP I'm running next week? What is that? Tell me. Also, I hope you feel better. Being sick is not fun. I don't go anywhere, so I don't really get sick. As I cough. I got these clips for my hair because I'm tired of putting my hair in like ponytails. I'm honestly surprised it's holding my hair right now because my hair is very thick. Anyway. Protects from oh, okay. I was like, am I missing something? We gotta scroll all the way. So, like I said, we're running a little Shadowdark one shot for Sithi's birthday. Because Sithi's birthday is next weekend. I believe it's Sunday. And Sithy is a pillar of the community, so I asked him if he wanted me to run like a little cheeky Shadowdark one-shot for his birthday, for the community one-shot this month. He said yes, so that's what we're doing. Shadowdark is a very interesting, it's like a very interesting world. And from what I've played in it, it's been very fun. I've played a couple of one-shots in the world and everything, and it's a very interesting system. It's very similar to D&D, so it is very much easy to sort of pick up and go if you're familiar with D&D. So we have it's a little weird because I usually do these, like I usually have like a physical copy of the book and I have like a top-down camera, but I have a PDF this time. So it actually starts off, there are a lot of tables in this book, which is really nice because you can basically roll up a character just on the tables. Like you don't even have to like really put too much thought into it if you're just trying to roll up a character and kind of run a game. So we start off with a little weapons table, which kind of like sets the tone, I feel, for the book. And for the system, having the very start of a book be the weapon and armor. But you can see we have like the cost breakdown, the type, medium, ranged, and all of that. Melee and ranged, sorry. Rubber. Rubber what? And then we have damage, and this system does utilize like a full dice set. And then properties. And again, same for the armor. Armor has cost, gear slots, which is basically how you track your equipment. AC. AC is pretty similar to how D&D does it. And then we've got properties. Doesn't have rubber listed as a bad game. Always practice safe combat, folks. And then we go to... It goes into a little bit more of the rules for the system. So we have difficulty class, which is if you're familiar with D&D, you know that like when you have to roll a DC 15 check, you want to roll 15 or higher in order to succeed. So this gives you a breakdown of the different difficulty classes and sort of how you might want to rate difficulty classes, the DCs for rolls that you're asking for. So, Maisie. Yeah, that's a lot. So you have easy is DC 19, so that would be something like leaping a narrow chasm, sneaking up on an inattentive guard. Normal is DC 12, so kicking open a stuck door, picking a poor lock. Hard is DC 15, so swimming against a strong current, giving first aid to stop a character from dying. Extreme DC is DC 18, so climbing a slippery cliff one-handed, restraining a frenzied lion. That is an example that just makes me laugh, that is a possibility that might happen. You have to restrain a frenzied lion. Morale. So this game implements something called morale. So enemies who are reduced to half their number or half their hit points for a solo enemy flee if they fail a DC 15 wisdom check. Large groups make one check using the leader's wisdom modifier. So when you're up against an enemy, group of enemy, whatever it is, and they are, and let's say you're up against 4 of them and then you kill 2, the other 2 will have to make a wisdom check. And if they fail it, they run because their morale's low. You've killed half of them. So I like that it kind of gives a little bit of a, not necessarily strategy, but something to the enemies where if the enemies are getting absolutely slaughtered by you all, it implements a mechanic where it's like, yeah, these enemies have a little bit of self-preservation. They're gonna get the fuck out of there. Dying, so there's a death timer, so that you could calculate that by rolling a d4, and that's plus your constitution modifier is the number of rounds, and then on turn, you're gonna roll a d20, and then if you roll a 20, you rise with 1 HP. Stabilize, if someone is within close range of you and they do a difficulty 15 intelligence check, on a success, target stops dying, but is still unconscious. And then we've got distance and movement. So the distance is measured by close, near, and far. So close is within 5 feet, so basically melee range. Near is up to 30 feet, so within a range that you can get to in a turn. And then far is you can see them, but you're likely not going to be able to get to them in a turn. Climbing, you usually will use a dex or strength check, half speed. Fall if fail by 5+ points. So if the DC check is 15, if the difficulty class is 15 for the climbing roll and you roll a 9, you will fall and you'll take damage from falling. So 1d6 damage for every 10 feet you fall. That I'm pretty sure that is D&D rules as well. 1d6 per every 10 feet. So moving through, so you can move freely through your allies. Pass a strength or dex check in order to move through enemies. Swimming, swim half speed, strength check in rough water, con check if holding breath, and then fail. If you fail those checks, it's 1d6 damage per round until you exit the hazard. And then spell focus, you can't cast other focus spells while focusing. Do a spell casting check at the start of your turn for the focus spell to maintain it. Success, the spell stays in effect until the start of your next turn. Failure, the spell ends. If you were focusing, you do not lose the ability to cast that spell. And then distraction, immediately do a spell casting check to maintain focus. So this is kind of akin to like spell concentration, in the same way that you can't cast like 2 concentration spells, because you can obviously only concentrate on 1 spell at a time. And then we've got our contents. So I think it's really interesting that they kind of have these little quick rules at the start, to kind of as reference. So you have like your weapons, your armor table, and then you have a little bit of quick rules when it comes to how to run like combat, which is nice right at the start. And then we have our table of contents. It's very well laid out, very simple, very easy. It's not overwhelming. Sometimes I feel like certain layouts can be a little overwhelming, especially for me, because I get very distracted. But as you can see, there is a lot to this book. A lot of these, there's a lot of tables. Actual character creation is fairly simple and straightforward. But there's a lot of tables that help you with pretty much every step of the way, which is very nice and kind of what I was drawing inspiration from for the Mass Effect TTRPG we're working on, where I want you to be able to have a table that you can just roll on if you're unsure what type of character you want to make. So you just have it, you roll on a table, and then whatever thing you get, that is the character that you're going to be playing. Also, the art for this game is really beautiful. Let me mute my phone so we don't have notifications sounding off the entire time. I'm a professional, I swear. I love black and white work like this that really highlights like hatching and cross-hatching as shading. It's probably some of my favorite type of art to look at. I'm not really good at making this type of art, but I do enjoy looking at it. And then the introduction. In these nighted halls, doom and glory bloom eternal. This is the story of the Shadowdark. And then we'll read through this, so because this gives a little bit of lore. They were crawlers, and so they dared the lost halls of the Shadowdark. They went down through the old trap door in the rusty mug cellar, greasing the owner's palm with a few silver drems. First came in the spiders, prickling legs, burning fangs. They descended on the silent threads from the dark high ceilings. Krieg finally burned the skittering devils to ash with blasts of magical fire. The carved stone walls grew denser, darker. Araga almost lost her head to a scythe snapping out of the wall. It was Raylina who found the hidden door behind a demonic statue, and so they went deeper. The work stone turned to damp cavern walls. Distant hisses and screams echoed in the pitch black, and leather-winged abominations swooped in with hooked talons tearing at Jorben's shield and flesh. But the treasure they found. Dusty gold coins stamped with forgotten emperors, fat rubies dangling from silver chains, glittering swords plucked from the hands of moldy skeletons. Soon the torches grew thin. The wounds grew numerous. The magic grew weak. The crawlers had met their true foe. It was all around them, never slowing, never sleeping, never ending. It was the Shadowdark, and the fight had only just begun. So what is Shadowdark? Shadowdark RPG is a fantasy adventure game where you and your companions delve into buried ruins, lost cities, spider-infested forests, and even fearsome dragon lairs in search of gold and glory. The Shadowdark is any place where danger and darkness hold sway. It clutches ancient secrets and dusty treasures in its rotting claws, daring fortune seekers to tempt their fates. With your adventuring companions at your side, you confront the Shadowdark's sinister traps, formidable magics, and ruthless monsters. If you survive, you'll bring back untold riches plucked from the jaws of death itself, and before long, you'll hear the Shadowdark's call once again. What defines this game? Speed, danger, and simplicity. Magic is perilous, and battles are fast and deadly. Being clever is crucial for survival. So that is a reason I really enjoy this game is, as a player, when I've played it before, is the emphasis on not always jumping straight into combat. And I think that this game does a really good job. Combat is deadly. Like, there is a very high chance that you will die in combat, especially if you are quick to jump into combat without trying to look for a better solution. And it rewards players for being creative with trying to get out of situations and trying to survive. Because the resources that you have, especially like spells and stuff, are not infinite. They're very much finite, and you need to make sure that you are saving your resources, because if you don't, you're going to end up in a situation where you're not going to get out of it. And I like when there are high stakes, especially in combat. I feel like as someone who started in D&D, combat kind of feels trivial in D&D. It doesn't feel very high stakes. There are so many ways to get more spell slots, to, you know, get more arrows. You know, there's not a whole lot of consequence in D&D when it comes to combat. At least in the D&D I've played. So I enjoy having a game that is going to punish me for misusing the resources that I have been allocated. Shadowdark RPG is a rules light and intuitive. It encourages quick decisions rather than hunting through the rulebook for answers. In this game, a torch only holds back the pressing darkness for 1 hour of real-world time. There isn't a moment to waste when the flames are burning low. How do I play? Everything you need to play or run a game is in this tome. Turn to the next section to get familiar with the basics. So we have our basics. So you have your characters. Obviously, you decide your character's actions and tell them to the referee or the GM. GM determines if the actions are successful and describes the result. Very kind of normal TTRPG experience, the back and forth between the GM and the player. I like this little guy right here. I just think he's neat. I think he's a neat little guy. And then so essentially you describe your action on your turn. You describe an action you want to do. For example, you could say you want to shoot your bow at the troll. The GM might ask you to do a check to determine whether you succeed. Movement during your turn, you can move up to near. So that's roughly 30 feet. You can break this movement up in any way. You don't take an action. You can move near again. So essentially you can dash to move twice during your turn. Rounds, each person takes a turn, starting with the GM going clockwise. The GM controls the monsters and environment and narrates how everyone's actions change the game world. Once everyone has taken a turn, that completes one round, then a new round begins. So I like that there's not a whole lot of, there's no initiative. I like that it starts with the GM and then it just goes around. That also, I feel, makes combat a little bit more hazardous, knowing that the GM is always going to go first. You have to really make sure that you really want to get into that combat with that knowledge. And then you need a D4, D6, D8, D10, D12, and D20 multiples. So obviously 3D6, you would roll 3 6-sided dice. Advantage, you roll 2 times and use the better result. Disadvantage, you roll 2 times and take the worst result. Your stats are characteristics. Each stat goes from 3 to 18 and has a bonus or penalty called a modifier, from -4 to +4, +4. So strength is your physical power, dexterity is your agility and reflexes, constitution, endurance, resistance to injury, intelligence is logical ability, wisdom is instinct and willpower, charisma is your appeal and presence. Checks, when attempting a risky action, roll a d20 and add a modifier that's called making a check. So, and I like that it's like specifically a risky action, and I feel like in a lot of TTRPGs, don't you dare. Get away from me. He's gonna be naughty. I feel like in a lot of TTRPGs, don't mind me, I'm just making sure he doesn't knock over my camera. In a lot of TTRPGs, there is, I feel like rolls can be pretty arbitrary. I think that when you're rolling in a TTRPG, it should be only if there is a risk of failure. And that is something that I have noticed, like doing like the Alien RPG, Mothership, the importance of doing that. What are you doing, dude? Get out of here. Go. Why are you difficult? Shoo, go. You want to be on camera, I'll put you on camera. You don't like it. Naughty, dude. Naughty. But yeah, I think the emphasis of only doing checks when there is a risk of failure, because otherwise, what's the point? You know, unless it's like going to be like some sort of tiered check where there is no risk of failure. It's just dependent upon how much the character might get. So if like you're rolling like an intelligence roll or something while in like a library, and yeah, your character is obviously going to find something, but your degree of success is dependent on the actual information that you're going to be getting. What are you doing? That one for me with that roll. I don't know what this cat's doing, bro. He's just out here. What's up, Mike? How are you? Can you like, oh, stop. Get out of here. I like that my animals know when, hey, do you want this? Go over here and play with that. My animals know when I'm streaming. And that's when they're the most naughty. See? The most naughty, dude. Going over some character stuff? Hell yeah. We're doing good. I'm waiting for Oatmeal to lose interest in whatever he's trying to get at behind my monitors. What's up, Queecha? Hi, Sithy. I don't know what this cat's doing, dude. I don't know what he's, like, found. Get out of there. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna poke you in the butthole. Get out of there, dude. Yeah, go that way. The Dark of Shadows. Oh, yeah, you go over there. Get an orange cat, they said. It'll be fun, they said. Truly ungovernable. Yeah, go on your bed. Jesus Christ. How are you doing, Queecha? How you doing, Sithy? What character stuff were you going, like session 0 type stuff, or? But anyway, checks. We were going over checks before the cat fucking distracted me. So, the GM will check choose the stat that is linked with the check, and then call for the DC. And then you roll a d20, plus whatever your stat modifier is, and then meets or beats the DC, your action succeeds. How about we don't do this? How about we don't? Don't paw at me either. Come here. You little bastard. Oh, you don't try to run away now. Say hello, everyone. Say hi, chat. I'm being really naughty. Oh, that was so loud. Watching Lovecraft Country. I still need to watch that. Is that good, Sithy? I've heard good things about it. One of my new players. Nice. For season 2. Dude, he's so naughty. He's such a little shit. Second watch through? Oh, so it must be good then, if you're watching it twice. Hit points. Injuries cause you to take damage and lose hit points. HP, it's very simple. Typical weapons deal 1d6 damage to your HP. You regain lost HP after a night of rest. Heroes at 0 HP die in 1d4 plus constitution modifier rounds. Dead characters are retired from play. First episode is Chef's Kiss. What is it on, Sithy? Is it on like Amazon? What's next? You can play a whole game with just the basics, but once you're ready for more, the next chapters expand upon them. Max? Oh, okay, I have that. Again, fucking... I really enjoy the art for this game. It's very old school, but I'm so into it. Like this little bat. I just think he's neat. I just think he's cool. Characters. Both the wise and foolish risk their fortune in Shadowdark. The darkness decides who is who. I am drinking. I'll drink my water. Hello, Shro. I look at Shadowdark. Yeah, that's what I was saying. That Shadowdark is very much like a rules light D&D. I also prefer this kind of art to like the fancy like CGI art. Cat hair. Overview: to make a Shadowdark RPG character, grab your dice, a blank character sheet, and go through the next few pages. You can also view a walkthrough at youtube.com/thearcanelibrary. You know what kind of art I like. Ones with titties. Hatchings are sick. Yeah, I love like any kind of art that has like hatching and cross-hatching. I really enjoy because I'm bad at that kind of art. I feel like the art that I usually enjoy the most is art that I myself am bad at making. So name, choose a worthy name for your adventurer, ancestry, your character's cultural and ancestral heritage, class, your character's job, level, you start at either 0 or first level. You gain levels by earning XP. XP, you start with 0 experience points. You gain XP based on the treasure and boons you earn from adventuring. Alignment and deity, your character's cosmic link to the opposing forces of law and chaos or balanced neutrality. And I do like that this is, regardless of whether like you're like a cleric or like someone who is draws your power from some sort of divinity, you still are choosing an alignment and deity. Title, as you gain levels, your prestige grows. Your title is based on your level, class, and alignment. This is a very interesting mechanic that they have in Shadowdark in particular. We'll delve into that a little bit more once we get to this section. But I do really enjoy that it takes into account all of your level, your class, and your alignment. Background, your history and past experience. You are adept at tasks related to your background. Stats, your 6 scores that determine your physical and mental characteristics. And then your HP, hit points represent the amount of injury you can sustain before you die. Taking damage from weapons, traps, spells, or other sources temporarily reduces your HP. You can regain HP by resting. Your AC, your armor class, is a type of difficulty class that shows how tough it is to injure you, whether because you're agile or you wear your armor. Your class determines the type of armor you can wear. Attacks, the weapons you wield and how you use them to fight an enemy. You can wield the weapons listed for your class. Talents, your special abilities. Your class, ancestry, and talent rolls grant you these. The benefits of talents combined, even the same talent rolled multiple times. Spells, some classes can learn and cast magic spells. And then your gear, your equipment, you can carry a number of items equal to 10 or your strength stat, whichever is higher. So what I was saying before, how the weapons and armor had certain amount of gear slots, that is basically how you track your equipment. That's your encumbrance, essentially. So starting level, 0 level characters. Some games begin with 0 level characters. Weak peasants who have not yet attained the skill required to be adventurers. 0 level characters are fragile. GMs should see the gauntlet on page 116 for more insight. Because 0 level characters have beginner's luck, they can wield all gear until first level. 0 level characters start with stats, choice of ancestry, hit points equal to their constitution modifier, a background, choice of alignment, and starting gear. So they do not have... They do not get a class, which is interesting. I like that. I've always kind of enjoyed I've seen people do it where in like D&D they have characters start at like level 0 and then something will happen within like the first session or two, which will kind of dictate the path that the characters will go on and like what class they end up choosing. And I've always enjoyed that type of storytelling. 0 level characters reach first level after surviving their first adventure. Again, same kind of deal. Dungeon Crawl Classics does that with... Yeah, I've seen that before. That must be where like people kind of get that from as well. I've seen really cool starts to like different types of campaigns before. Are you gonna be like this the entire time? Boy, ain't right. Well, yeah, a little origin story moment. First level characters start with your stats, choice of ancestry, choice of class, 1 class talent roll, hit points equal to 1 roll of their class hit points die plus their constitution modifier. These replace the hit points the character had at level 0. Background, choice of alignment, title, and starting gear. So stats are pretty easy to determine. You roll 3d6 in order from each one. And then you're going to note the total, and then based on the total is your modifier. And then optionally, if none of your stats are 14 or higher, you may roll a new set of 6 numbers. So essentially what you want to do is you want to roll, so you're going to roll in order. So you're going to roll your strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, charisma. I kind of like this because it really... I like this because if you're not really sure what type of character you want to play, you can kind of let the stats dictate that for you. Because if you roll really high in strength, you could be like, oh, I'm going to be like a fighter then. Or if you roll really high like dexterity, you're going to be like, oh, I'm going to be more roguish. Because I have a really high rogue's dexterity stat. And then, so the stats, you kind of go by your modifier. So if you roll a total of... let's say 8, you're going to have a -1 modifier. If you roll a 14, you'll have a +2 modifier. And then 18 plus, which would be just 6s, would be crazy. You get a +4 modifier. And I like this because, man, you really get punished for rolling shitty here. You get super punished for rolling really shitty, and you could just roll super shitty and just take those stats. I feel like Weasel would really like this. Weasel loves just working with like negative modifiers. So I think she would really like this. But again, if none of your stats are 14 or higher, you can roll a new set, but still. Sometimes you just gotta let the dice fall where the dice fall. So, and then we have Ancestry. I know that, so this is like the original book. I know that there are other supplements and stuff that sort of add different ancestries, but this is just the base ancestries that are available. So we've got dwarves. So brave, stalwart folk are as sturdy as the stone kingdoms they carve inside mountains. You know the common and dwarvish languages, and then your ancestral talent is stout. You start with +2 HP, roll hit points per level with advantage. So you would roll 2 dice instead of 1 and take the higher number. Characters are a dime a dozen in Shadowdark. Plus it encourages outside of the box thinking. Yep. And I think that's something that's really nice because I think like when you're sort of making a character in D&D, you go through, you choose like specifically in like D&D Beyond, because that's kind of where I've made the most D&D characters. You'll go through, so you'll go and you'll choose your race. And then you'll choose your class, and then you roll your stats, and you can kind of there's several different ways to do it, but you can essentially punch in the numbers wherever you want in order to benefit whatever kind of character you want to play. But I think rolling stats first and having that inform the type of character that you're going to make is much more interesting for the most part than going in and being like, yeah, I'm gonna play a rogue. And then just like hoping. Elf, ethereal, graceful people who revere knowledge and beauty. Elves see far and live long. You know the common, elvish, and sylvan languages. Far sight, you get a +1 bonus to attack rolls with ranged weapons, or a +1 bonus to spellcasting checks. A tiefling druid. That was me. I was a tiefling druid. I was a pink tiefling druid. Goblin, green, clever beings who thrive in dark, cramped places. This is you, Scythy. As fierce as they are tiny, you know the common and goblin languages. Keen senses, you can't be surprised. Half-orc, towering tusked warriors who are as daring as humans and as relentless as orcs. You know the common and orcish languages. Mighty, you have a +1 bonus to attack and damage rolls with melee weapons. And so the primordial age ended and the gods fled. In their place rose mortals, and they scattered the earth with their shining kingdoms and lost ruins. I like these little excerpts within the book. Halfling, small cheerful country folk with mischievous streaks. They enjoy life's simple pleasures. You know the common language. Stealthy, once per day, you can become invisible for 3 rounds. Human, bold, adaptable, and diverse people who learn quickly and accomplish mighty deeds. You know the common language and 1 additional common language. Ambitious, you gain 1 additional talent roll at first level. Oh, fucking Bilbo Baggins over here, dude. Fighter class, so we're going into fighter, and again, I believe that there are more, there's more ancestries available, but this is just what came in with the original book. So fighter class, blood-soaked gladiators in dented armor, acrobatic duelists with darting swords, or far-eyed elven archers who carve their legends with steel and grit. Weapons, all armor and shields are available to you. Your hit points is 1d8 per level. Hauler, so these are the talents that you can choose from. So Hauler, add your constitution these are your abilities. Add your constitution modifier if positive to your gear slots. Weapon mastery, choose 1 type of weapon such as longswords. You gain +1 to attack and damage with that weapon type. In addition, add half your level to these rolled down. Round down. Grit, choose strength or dexterity. You have advantage on checks of that type to overcome an opposing force, such as kicking open a stuck door or slipping free of rusty chains. So with like grit, like if you're going to do, if you're going to be like an archer or something, you would probably want to choose like dexterity. Whereas if you're going to be going like more of a swordsman type fighter, I would say choose like strength for this. And then these are the talents that you get. So you'll roll 2d6, and again, you don't necessarily have to roll the 2d6, but I think the randomness of it is fun. So, you know, so you roll 2d6, and then whatever it lands on is the talent that you get. And then if you're a human, you get 1 extra talent. So for 2, you gain weapon mastery with 1 additional weapon type. 3 to 6, +1 to melee and ranged attacks. 7 to 9, +2 to strength, dexterity, or constitution stat. So you choose one of those. 10 to 11, choose 1 kind of armor. You get a +1 AC for that armor. And then 12, choose a talent or +2 points to distribute to stats. That's kind of nice. So if you roll you just roll 2 6s, you can choose one of these, or you just can distribute 2 points to one of your 1 or 2 of your stats. Shadowdark site allows you to build characters using some of the third-party supplements. I saw that because I was kind of rolling out some characters that I'm gonna let people choose from. Anyone who wanted me to make them a character, I was rolling up some characters. So I only went with, I didn't choose any of like the third-party supplement stuff just because I wanted to keep it pretty simple, but it's pretty cool. I was looking through all of them. Again, super fucking cool art. Priest class, so this would be like your cleric. Crusading Templars, prophetic shamans, and mad-eyed zealots who wield the power of their gods to cleanse the unholy. Weapons you have available are club, crossbow, dagger, mace, longsword, staff, warhammer. Armor, all armor and shields. Your hit points are 1d6 per level. Languages, you know celestial, diabolic, or primordial. You have, your abilities are turn undead. You know the turn undead spell. It doesn't count toward your number of known spells. Deity, choose a god to serve who matches your alignment. You have a holy symbol for your god. That takes up no gear slots. Spell casting, you can cast pre-spells you know. You know 2 tiered 1 level spells of your choice from the pre-spell list. Each time you gain a level, you choose a new pre-spell to learn according to the pre-spells known table. For casting pre-spells, see spell casting. And these are your talents. So if you roll a 2, gain advantage on casting 1 spell you know. 3 to 6, +1 to melee or ranged attacks. 7 to 9, +1 to pre-spell casting checks. 10 to 11, +2 to strength or wisdom stat. And then 12, you get to choose a talent or distribute 2 points to stats. And then this is the pre-spells known. So at level 1, you know 2 spells. At level 2, you know 3 tier 1 spells. And then at level 3, you get a second tier spell. And then so on. Pretty simple, pretty basic. I like this guy. He looks a little fresh, he looks a little funky. Thief class. Rooftop assassins, grinning con artists, or cloaked cat burglars who pluck a gem from the claws of a sleeping demon and sell it for twice its worth. Weapons you have available are club, crossbow, dagger, shortbow, and short sword. Armor, leather armor, mithril chainmail, and then your hit points are 1d4 per level. Your abilities are backstab. If you hit a creature who is unaware of your attack, you deal an extra weapon die of damage. Add additional weapon dice of damage equal to half your level, round down. Thievery, you are adept at thieving skills and have the necessary tools of the trade secreted on your person. You are trained in the following tasks and have advantage on any associated checks: climbing, sneaking and hiding, applying disguises, finding and disabling traps, delicate tasks such as picking pockets and opening locks. And then your talents: if you roll a 2, gain advantage on initiative rolls, reroll with duplicate. 3 to 5, your backstab deals +1 dice of damage. 6 to 9, +2 to strength, dexterity, or charisma stat. 10 to 11, +1 to melee and ranged attacks, and then you get a 12, choose a talent, or +2 points to distribute to stats. Here's a little thief guy. Then you get a wizard. Rune-tattooed adepts, bespeckled magi, and flame-conjuring witches who dare to manipulate the fell forces of magic. All these guys have seen some shit. They got that 1,000-yard stare. That picture of the dude in war with the fucking helmet all like turned, explosions going on behind him. So your weapons are a dagger and staff. You get no armor, 1d4 for your hit points. Languages, you know 2 additional common languages and 2 rare languages. Learning spells is one of your abilities. You can permanently learn a wizard spell from a spell scroll by studying it for a day and succeeding on a DC 15 intelligence check. Whether you succeed or fail, you expend the spell scroll. Spells you learn in this way don't count towards your known spells. Spell casting, you can cast wizard spells you know. You know 3 tier 1 spells of your choice from the wizard spell list. Each time you gain a level, you choose a new wizard spell to learn according to the wizard spells known table. For casting wizard spells, see spell casting on page 44. This little guy. This is Sithy. Spell shots. And then these are your spells known. Obviously, because wizard is a little less melee based than you could do with priests, they know more spells. So level 1, you start out with 3 tier 1, 2 you get 4, and then 3 you get 4, and then 1 tier 2. Wizard talents: if you roll a 2, make 1 random magic item of a type you choose. That's pretty fucking cool. 3 to 7, +2 to intelligence stat, or +1 to wizard spell casting checks. 8 to 9, gain advantage on casting 1 spell you know. 10 to 11, learn 1 additional wizard spell of any tier you know. And then 12, choose a talent, or +2 points to distribute to stats. Hi, Mimi. That is you. Just a little goblin. Hi. Happy, happy, happy? Happy, happy, happy. Backgrounds. Your background knowledge and skills might prove useful during your adventures. Work with the GM to determine if your background provides you advantages in any given situation. So, again, you can roll a d20 and choose one of these backgrounds. So we have Urchin. You grew up in the merciless streets of a large city. Wanted, there's a price on your head, but you have allies. Cult Initiate, you know blasphemous secrets and rituals. Thieves Guild, you have connections, contacts, and debts. Banished, your people cast you out for supposed crimes. Orphaned, an unusual guardian rescued and raised you. Wizard's Apprentice, you have a knack and eye for magic. Jeweler, you can easily appraise value and authenticity. Amazing. Sit. Wow, she's so well behaved and mild mannered. Herbalist, you know plants, medicines, and poisons. Barbarian, you left the horde, but it never quite left you. Mercenary, you fought friend and foe alike for your coin. Sailor, easy. Relax. Pirate, privateer, or merchant, the seas are yours. Acolyte, you're well-trained in religious rites and doctrines. Soldier, you served as a fighter in an organized army. Ranger, the woods and wilds are your true home. Scout, you survived on stealth, observation, and speed. Minstrel, you traveled far with your charm and talent. Scholar, you know much about ancient history and lore. Noble, a famous name has opened many doors for you. I think this is pronounced... It's basically surgeon. Like chirurgeon. You know, anatomy, surgery, and first aid. Yeah, and animals are off the chain. Well, because Joel's not home yet, so like they don't have him to bother. So it's just me. The newest Shadowdark Kickstarter is almost at 2 million. That's crazy. What's the highest a TTRPG Kickstarter has ever, like, gone to? I wonder. And then we have alignment, which... one thing I really do enjoy about Shadowdark is the fact that alignment actually means something. I feel like in D&D, D&D 5e in particular... your alignment doesn't really mean a whole lot. There's no actual like mechanical benefits for your alignment. Whereas with this, the alignment is important. Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere? Whoa, really? That's crazy. I'm like looking it up. How much did that raise? 15 million, bro. Holy shit. That's crazy. That's a lot of fucking money. I don't think I actually backed that. I am a fan of Brandon Sanderson. I just don't think I backed that because I don't think I had the money at the time. That's a lot of fucking money. Holy shit. So your alignment. Alignment defines your role in the clash between good and evil. All creatures are connected to the eternal conflict waged by law, chaos, and neutrality, whether they know it or not. Law is benevolence, chaos is malevolence, and neutrality is impartial, favoring neither. Choose one of the following 3 alignments. Chaotic. Chaotic characters align themselves with destruction, ambition, and wickedness. Chaotic characters adopt a survival of the fittest mentality. Lawful. Lawful characters align themselves with fairness, order, and virtue. Lawful characters operate from a good of the whole mentality. Neutral. Neutral characters find balance between law and chaos. They align with the cycle of growth and decline, adopting a nature must take its course mentality. And then deities. The many gods of the universe are the personifications of law, chaos, and neutrality. The most well-known gods are listed here. A character may worship any deity or none. Priests must choose one god to serve faithfully. A priest's deity can revoke the gift of spellcasting if the priest commits blasphemous acts. Most folk worship one of the 4 lords, the lawful and neutral gods who stand for justice, order, and mercy. Malevolent beings worship one of the dark trio, chaotic deities who evince power, destruction, and cruelty. There were once 9 primary gods, but 2 are the lost, forbidden, or forgotten. Many folks still refer to the 9, and the oaths they swear in ancient stories always begin with beneath the eyes of the 9. We need to come up with a TTRPG to kickstart for millions of dollars, right? Maybe one day. Saint Taragnus is lawful, a legendary knight who is the patron of the most lawful humans. She ascended to godhood long ago and is the embodiment of righteousness and justice. Geedy or Geed? Neutral, the gods of feast, mirth, and the god of feast, mirth, and the wilds. Geed is usually peaceful, but primal storms rage when her anger rises. Many elves and halflings worship her. Madeira, the Covenant, lawful. Madeira was the first manifestation of law. She carries every law of reality, a dictate called the Covenant, written on her skin in precise symbols. Ord, neutral. Ord the Unbending, the Wise, the Secret Keeper. He is the god of magic, knowledge, secrets, and equilibrium. Creature said, okay, don't worry, I got this. He's gonna run some numbers. Indeed, it's Friday. It's a popular saying in Shadowdark circles. I like that. Memnon, chaotic. Memnon was the first manifestation of chaos. He is Madeira's twin, a red-maned Leonine, whose ultimate, wow, that just like really fucked me up there, whose ultimate ambition is to rend the cosmic laws of the Covenant from his sister's skin. Oof. Oof. Ramlot, chaotic. Ramlot is the pillager, the barbaric, the horde. Many orcs worship him and live by the blood rite, a prophecy that says only the strongest will survive a coming doom. Shun the Vile, chaotic. Shun whispers arcane secrets to sorcerers and witches who call to her in the dark hours. She schemes to displace Ord so she can control the vast flow of magic herself. The Lost, question mark? 2 of the 9 are lost to the ages, their names expunged from history and memory, yet their whispered legend lives on in ancient texts and forgotten places. And then this is I think this is one of the cooler parts of this system, are the titles. As you gain levels, your title changes to reflect an increase in your fame or infamy. Your legend begins to precede you as your renown grows, for good or for ill. An improved title could present opportunities that were previously out of your reach. So for fighter, the lawful ones you get are Squire, Cavalier, Knight, Thane, Lord/Lady. The chaotic ones are Knave, Bandit, Slayer, Reaver, Warlord, and the neutral are Warrior, Barbarian, Battle Rager, War Chief, and Chieftain. I like Reaver. I think Reaver fucks. I like that a lot. And then your priest titles, Lawful or Acolyte, Crusader, Templar, Champion, and Paladin. Chaotic, Initiate, Zealot, Cultist, Scourge, Chaos Knight. Chaos Knight, that's so edgy. Neutral is Seeker, Invoker, Haruspex, Mystic, and Oracle. Slayer 666. I don't know if I've told that story. One time I was at my friend's house and I was asking her what the Wi-Fi was, and this was like when she lived with her uncle and grandmother. And I was like, what's the Wi-Fi password? And they asked their uncle, and he was like, it's Slayer 666. And we were just like, God fucking damn it, Scott. God damn it. It's always the uncle, dude. He was the same age as us, so I get it. It's fine. I like the neutral ones. I think the neutral ones are pretty cool. I like Oracle. I think Oracle's neat. Just a little guy on a rooftop with a bird friend. Your thief titles for Lawful or Footpad, Burglar, Rook, Underboss, and Boss. This seems a little redundant. Chaotic, Thug, Cutthroat, Shadow, Assassin, and Wraith. Neutral, Robber, Outlaw, Rogue, Renegade. Bandit, King, or Queen. Your wizard titles. Lawful is Apprentice, Conjurer, Arcanist, Mage, Archmage. Chaotic, Adept, Channeler, Witch/Warlock, Diabolist, Sorcerer. Neutral, Shaman, Seer, Warden, Sage, Druid. I do love druids. And then we have common languages. So languages are broken up into 2 different types. You have common and rare. So common, your common languages. Common, again, a little redundant, but it's fine. Common, most humanoids will speak it. Dwarvish, dwarves, elvish, elves, giants, ogres, trolls. Goblin, bugbears, goblins, hobgoblins. Marin, merfolk. I don't know. I never know how to pronounce this word. Whatever. Sirens. The title for my level 1 seer is Hedge Witch. I like that. I like Hedge Witch. Orcish, orcs, reptilian, lizard folks, and Viperians. Sylvan, centaurs, dryads, and fairies. No, the one next to merfolk. I never know how to pronounce that. When I see it written out, I'm like, what the fuck is that? That's not a word. Sahwagon? Sahwagon. That's not a word. I'm with creature on this one. Thanian, Minotaurs, Beastmen, Manticores. And then here are the rare languages: Celestial, Angels, I'm fine. Diabolic, Demons and Devils, Draconic, Dragons, Primordial, Elder Things, and Elementals. And then starting gear. So 0 level characters start with 1d4 of the following items, and then you can roll if you want to do something a little bit more random. First level characters start with 2d6 times 5 gold pieces to buy gear, so you'll be able to buy your gear at first level. Armor class. Your armor class is 10 plus your dexterity modifier. Wearing armor changes your AC. You can wear types of armor listed for your class. 0 level PCs can wear all armor until first level. Sahuagin. That's stupid. That's a stupid fucking word. So we've got gear, arrows, ammunition for short bows or long bows, your backpack to hold your gear, caltrops, the little Lego-like things in fantasy games, coin, your crossbow bolts, crowbar, grants advantage on checks to pry open stuck objects, water rats. I do like a water rat. I just don't like what they're called. I cannot abide. Flask or bottle, glass containers that hold 1 draught of liquid, flint and steel, a small fire starter with it. Routine attempts to light a fire always succeed. Gems come in numerous varieties and are valuable. I thought that said vulnerable for 1 second. That dude does not abide. The dude does not abide. Is that where I got that from? That makes sense. What is a survivor with the flint and steel? Flint and steel? I think I got that from Minecraft. Iron spikes, strong spikes, each has a hole for threading rope. Can be hammered in with weapons or other iron spikes. Lantern, casts light up to double near distance. Requires oil, has a shutter to hide the light. Mirror, a small polished mirror. Oil flask, fuels a lantern for 1 hour of real time. Pole, wooden, 10 feet long. Rations, 1 day of food and water supply for 1 person. Rope, hemp, 60 feet long. Torch, sheds light to a near distance. Burns for 1 hour of real time. So we have the cost of all of this gear now, and then quantity per gear slot, because remember, you need to make sure that the amount of gear that you're carrying is equal to either 10 or your strength number, if that is more than 10, because that is the amount of gear that you're able to carry. The Big Lebowski is definitely where the dude abides comes from. I wonder if that's where I got the I do not abide, though, you know? I don't know where I got that. I do not abide. Yes, and some weapon and armor are 2 gear slots, so that's something to be wary of. So here are gear slots. You can carry a number of items equal to strength stat or 10, whichever is higher. Unless noted, all gear besides typical clothing fits 1 gear slot. Gear that is hard to transport might fill more than 1 slot. So it's important to make sure that you are appropriately calculating how much you are carrying. Then we have some kits that you could buy. So you've got a crawling kit. Oh, it's just 1. I thought there was more for some reason. This uses 7 gear slots and contains the following items: backpack, flint and steel, torch, rations, iron spikes, grappling hook, and rope. And then your armor. And you'll see, like, your chainmail is 2 gear slots. Plate mail is 3 gear slots. Mithril is minus 1 gear slot. Succulent Chinese meal? What is the charge? Eating a meal? A succulent Chinese meal? Rip to a legend, honestly. So for leather armor, it's going to be 11 plus your dex mod. If that's your AC. So instead of 10 plus your dex mod, you're basically going to get +1. Chainmail is 13 plus your dex mod, and then plate mail is just a straight 15. Your shield grants you an additional 2. And then there's certain properties. So chainmail, obviously, you have disadvantage on stealth and swimming. Plate mail, you cannot swim in it, and you have disadvantage on stealth. Your shield will occupy 1 hand, so if you're going to be wielding a weapon, you want to make sure that it's a one-handed weapon. Mithril, there are no penalty on stealth or swim. And here are the different types of weapons that you can own. And what each of these letters mean. So F for finesse, you may use your strength or dex when attacking with this weapon. L for loading, you must forego moving to reload this weapon. So instead of moving in a turn, you have to reload if you're going to try and fire with it again. TH for thrown, you may throw this weapon to make a ranged attack with it using strength or dexterity. 2H, two-handed, you must use this weapon with 2 hands. Versatile, V, you can use this weapon with 1 or 2 hands. Use the higher damage die if you're wielding it with 2. Weapon types, melee weapons, M, strike at arm's reach, and ranged weapons, R, strike at distance. And then range, you can use a weapon at close, C, near, N, or far, F, range. And then this breaks down all of that. Pretty straightforward. I like the simplicity of this, of the breakdown of all of the weapons. I don't have much to say about that, actually. I thought I would have more to say. I don't. Weapons at N hit near, F hit far, W hit wherever you are. What is up, Ant? How are you? I just hopped in, so I don't have any constructive commentary. That's fine. I don't need any. I don't need any. Also, Ant, I know you've been looking for to play some TTRPGs, I'm pretty sure. I've been doing monthly one-shots with the community. They're not streamed, but we've been doing them monthly, usually Saturday nights. And I usually post in my Discord if we have anything going on. And we are currently going to be running Shadowdark on the 12th, if you're interested. So, if that is something that interests you, let me know. Eyes emoji. Character names. So again, if you want to go completely random, you can just roll here for some character names. They've got a lot of interesting ones, like Yark and Rizzo and Gordy. Not gonna yuck, they're young. Level advancement. So listen, I'm a little bit of a, how you say, I like milestones, but I don't hate XP points. So XP, experience points, XP representing your learning, influence, and increasing skill. XP awards are based on the quality of the treasure and boons you gain during a session. GM should see awarding XP on page 117 for guidance. The GM can award XP right away or at the end of each session. Leveling up, to gain a level, you need to earn your current level times 10. So in order to get, if you're level 1, in order to get to level 2, you need 10 XP. To get to level 3, you would need 20, so on and so forth. Once you reach a new level, your total XP resets back to 0. You get any new titles, spells, and talent improvements listed to your level. Your maximum HP increases, and you might also gain a talent roll. I say XP points for people who prefer crunch and milestones for people who prefer RP and narrative. Yep. Yup. I feel like I had originally, for All We've Lost, I had done XP at first. And then decided to switch over to milestone after I was like, I don't actually want to track all of this bullshit. Hello. Sure. I use milestone in D&D 5e. Mm-hmm. Why does anyone say XP points? The P in XP stands for points, right? It does. It's like when people say like non-bread. When like non means bread. You know? Probably harder to have people level at the appropriate time when using XP. Yeah, and it's like, I feel like for the most part, using XP can present a little bit of an unfair, like I feel like people will start to level at different points if you use XP.
You fell for it again.
I didn't drink it though.
I know, but you fell for it again. You thought I had a beverage.
Joel keeps trying to get me to drink milk. I refuse.
No, I just keep having you think it's not milk.
How annoying. Most of my DMs have used points, but they give exactly the amount of points to level up when they want people to level. At that point, then, it's like, just use milestone. You know? Give her booze instead. Lydia stream. No, we don't want that. I think that if you're going to be giving, like, if you're basically allotting the amount, you hear Macy's little pitter patters. If you're allotting the amounts of points that, wherein you're like, hey, at session 3, they're gonna reach level 2. Then it's just like, just use milestone then, you know? Like if you know at session 3, you want them to be level 2, just use milestone. Don't necessarily need parity. Yeah, and the levels of different characters. Also leveling up, you get your talent roll, so you gain 1 roll on your class's talent table when you reach the indicated levels. Duplicate talents stack unless noted. And then your increased HP, so you roll your hit points die and add it to your maximum HP. And then here we have random characters. You can use these tables to randomly generate 0 level or 1st level characters, roll your stats, backgrounds, and class talents as normal, and then make selections. So here you can just roll. You roll a d12 for your ancestry, a d4 for your class, a d6 for your priest spells, a d8 for your deity, a d4 for language, rare language, d10 for common language, d6 for alignment, and then you get wizard spells and your gear. You just roll all of that, and you don't have to worry about it. Look at this guy. What a man. Wow. And then we get magic. Casting spells. Spellcasters use the raw power of creation and destruction to bend reality, shaping it into the will of their gods or ambitions. Wizard magic is fickle, complicated, and volatile. Even the most learned mages tread carefully when reaching beyond the veil to grasp arcane energies. Priest magic is miraculous, sacred, and instinctive. Priests who offend their gods might lose the ability to cast spells until they can undertake penance. Spellcasting. When you cast a spell, you invoke magic to cause an effect. Casting a spell takes your action. Characters with spellcasting talent can cast spells. To cast a wizard spell, make a spellcasting check by rolling a d20 plus your intelligence modifier. What is that? Is it just the fucking alcohol?
No, I actually mixed. Oh.
Oh, that's sugary, dude. Yeah, that's fine. Ooh. This is a house of learned mages. Chug. Wait, did he listen? Yeah. It's very beautiful, if not a little bit naughty.
What?
You know who's really naughty?
Nobody.
The little orange bastard. He's sitting really cutely right now, guys. He's in the bed. I like it when people listen to me. They should do it more often. I don't know, man. This is a pretty sugary drink. It's like, it's pink lemonade and then pink lemonade liquor. Is that weird? To put water in it? Yeah, put water in this son of a bitch.
I did make mix.
Yeah, put some more liquor. I hardly know her. Yeah, relax. Sorry, that was like, that's in my mouth now. Just on my tongue. Invading my senses. Just like the XP points. You had to work hard to make it sweeter than you. Hilarious. To cast a priest spell, you know, make a spellcasting check by rolling a d20 plus your wisdom modifier. The DC to successfully cast a spell is 10 plus the spell's tier. So if you're casting a tier 1 spell, the DC will be 11. If you're casting a tier 2, 12, and so on. Results. If you succeed on your spellcasting check, the spell takes effect. If you fail your spellcasting check, the spell does not take effect. You can't cast a spell again until you complete a rest. So any like spell you have, you can only cast once per day, essentially. Which again is the reason why when you have these resources, and spells are resources, you want to make sure that you are using them sparingly until you actually need them. And then even if like you fail the check, you just lose the ability to cast that spell for the rest of the day. Cast them until you fail a roll. Or just level up, get a myriad of spells. Critical success. If you roll a natural 20 on your spellcasting check, you may double one of the spell's numerical effects. This remains in effect on a focus spell until your next focus check. Critical failure. If you roll a natural 1 on your spellcasting check, the spell does not take effect. If it was a focus spell, the spell ends immediately. 10 magic missiles a day as long as you make your rolls. Yeah. You want to make sure you make your rolls. And then if you don't, sorry. Goodbye to smell. Do it. It feels weird not having my my wall closer behind me. It's just weird.
Gonna have to get
yeah. Critical. What do you do? Wizard spell. If the spell was a wizard spell, you can't cast that spell again until you successfully complete a rest. You must also roll in the wizard mishap table corresponding to the spell's tier. Priest spell. If the spell was a priest spell, your deity is greatly displeased and revokes its power. You can't cast the spell again until you complete ritualistic penance to your deity and successfully complete a rest. Penance, the GM determines the exact nature of the penance you must undertake based on your deity and alignment. Self-flagellation. Every time. Obviously. Penance requires a holy quest, ritualistic atonement, or a material sacrifice that you donate or destroy. Inadequate or subversive penance, such as donating your sacrifice to a party member, only displeases your deity further and makes the spell loss permanent. Sacrifice value, so this tells you spell tier, 5 gold pieces, 2, 20, 40, 90, 150. And then these wizard mishaps are pretty fun. Mishaps. like some sort of anti-claustrophobia. Walls aren't closing in, they're going away. It's because like I've had like that. So the wall behind me is now about 5 feet away from me, when normally it was like a foot away. So it's a little hard, because I'm like, wow, there's so much open space. I'm gonna get like sniped. I feel like there's like a red dot on my forehead right now. I'm too open. Why'd you move the wall? So Joel has moved his space upstairs, his little office space upstairs. And the whole reason we had that wall was to kind of separate us off from each other, because we're sharing it. We were sharing a desk essentially. But now his office space is upstairs, and then I will also be moving upstairs into my own office space. But now it is just behind me because it doesn't need to be like, I don't need to be zoned off like an animal. Mm. 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 Not really. Why don't you use that, like, the food scraper thing that's in, like, and then just use, like, a razor. I don't think I had, like, a cutter. I think I just used scissors.
Well, yeah. But
Mm-hmm. I've increased the size of my enclosure, and now there's too much space, and I don't know what to do with it. And now you can see Joel all the time, which is like awful for everyone involved. Need an overlay that is an armored bunker, and the cam window slides open. Let me out. Anyway, wizard mishap tier 1 to 2. So this is depending on the spell that if you cast a 1 to 2 spell and you critical fail. You roll a d12. So devastation, roll twice and combine both effects. Reroll any further ones. Explosion, you take 1d8 damage. Refraction, you target yourself with the spell. Your hand slipped, you target a random ally with the spell. Mind wound, you can't cast the spell again for a week. Discorporation, one random piece of your gear disappears forever. Damn, dude, that sucks. Spellworm, you lose the ability to cast a random spell on each of your turns until you pass a DC 12 Constitution check. You regain the ability to cast those spells after completing a rest. Harmonic failure, you lose the ability to cast a random spell until you complete a rest. Poof, you suppress all light within a near distance from you, including sunlight and magical light, for 10 rounds. The horror, you scream uncontrollably for 3 rounds in Primordial, drawing lots of attention. Energy surge, you glow bright purple for 10 rounds, granting enemies advantage on attacks against you. Unstable conduit, you have disadvantage on casting spells at the same tier for 10 rounds. And then mishap for tier 3 to 4. Devastation, roll twice and combine those effects. Blast radius, you and all near creatures take 2d6 damage. Duplicate refraction, you target yourself and the nearest ally with 2 identical copies of the spell. You flub the incantation, you cast a random spell from your known spells at the same targets, even if it would not normally be possible. Ethereal Bandersnatch, you 2 random pieces of your gear disappear forever. Arcano Mutagenesis, you must pass a DC 12 Constitution check, or a random stat drops 2/3, which is a -4 modifier, until you successfully complete a rest. Boom! You open a 30-foot sinkhole in the ground with you at the center. You and all near creatures must pass a DC 15 Dexterity check or fall in. Why is the book yelling at us? I think it's just me yelling. I think I'm projecting. Probably. Corporation could be the worst for the people around the wizard. Do they wear anything under the wizard robe? No, you're just gonna get an eye full of PNR, dude. No, it's definitely yelling. Boom! Petrification! 1d4 of your limbs petrify for the next 24 hours. Stupefaction! I almost said stupefaction. You lose the ability to cast all spells of the same tier until you complete a rest. It cannot be unseen. You must pass a DC 12 wisdom check or descend into mad raving for 1d10 rounds. Radioactive energies! You whirl with repulsive energies, drawing the hostility and attacks of all enemies who can see you for the next 1d4 rounds. Uncontained channeling! You have disadvantage on casting spells at the same tier and lower for 10 rounds. And then mishap tier 5. Devastation! Roll twice and combine both effects. I always roll with repulsive energy. That's my secret. I feel like I'm like a repulsive person. Repulse. Pyroclastic extrusion! You deal 3d8 damage to yourself and all creatures within near. Astral incision! An otherworldly blade cuts into your memory. You permanently forget one random spell. The Grimlow! You accidentally summon a hostile Grimlow into the space near you. It persists for 2d4 rounds before disappearing whence it came. Dark Plasma Aura! Attacks against you pass through a vile aura, dealing double damage for the next 2d6 rounds. Gate! You open a magic... Gate! You open a magic portal to another location, whether on this plane or another. Something dreadful will come through in 1d4 round unless you close it with a DC 18 intelligence check on your turn. Runaway Arcana Loop. Your spell targets a random creature you can see, even if it would not normally be possible. Each subsequent turn, you must pass a spellcasting check for that spell or cast it on another random creature in the same way. Arcane Obstruction. You lose the ability to cast all spells of random tier until you complete a rest. What lurks beyond the veil? You must pass a DC 15 wisdom check or fall into mad raving for 1d4 hours. Ord's Balance. You must either permanently sacrifice a magic item or the ability to cast a tier 3+ spell you know. Unmitigated Chain Reaction. You have disadvantage on casting all spells for the next 10 rounds. Shred. You tear a large hole in the fabric of the universe close to you. The lightless tear grows larger every round. That's rough, buddy. That's a lot. Scrolls and Wands. Using Scrolls and Wands. Scrolls and Wands contain magic spells. Spellcasters can use them to cast these spells on their spell list, even if they don't know the spell. To do so, they must succeed on a spellcasting check with a DC of 10 plus the tier of the spell contained within the wand or scroll. Failing to cast a spell from a wand or scroll does not impact the ability to cast known spells. Scrolls. After spellcasting attempt with a scroll, the magical writing disappears from the scroll and it ceases to work. On a critical failure, casters with mishap tables must roll a mishap. Wands. On a failed casting attempt, the wand stops working until you complete a rest. On a critical failure, the wand permanently breaks and the caster must... with mishap tables must roll a mishap. Look at this funky little fella. I just think he's neat. Gotta make sure the wizards are outside of your personal bubble. Yeah, you gotta... It's like when it's like in Mothership, you as the android creature, like everyone wanted to make sure they were not within a certain like radius of you. Wands. Easy to poke someone. So if the wand stops working, could you not just jab it into someone's eye? Hi, Lady M. Spell attributes, tiers. Spells are classified according to their tiers, which range from 1 to 5. Range. What's up, Vlad? Range determines at what distance, close, near, or far, you can deliver the spell's effects. Self-range means you can only target yourself with the spell. Duration is how long the spell's effects last. Spells can have an instant effect or last for several turns, rounds, or longer. See focus for spells with a focus duration. Overlapping effects. Ongoing effects of the same spell on the same target do not combine. The spell with the most powerful effect takes precedence, such as the spell with the longer remaining duration. Focus. Some spells last for as long as you focus. You can't cast other focus spells while focusing. You can end a focus spell at any time. To maintain focus, you make a spell casting check at the start of your turn as if you were casting that spell. Success. The spell remains in effect until the start of your next turn. Failure. The spell ends. If you were focusing, you do not lose the ability to cast that spell. However, if you critically fail on a check to maintain focus, treat it as a standard critical failure. If you take damage or become distracted while focusing, due to an earthquake, for example, you must immediately make a spellcasting check to maintain focus. There are many places to jab a wand. Wink. Wink. So here we have your spell list for priests. So tier 1, Cure Wounds, Holy Weapon, Light, Protection from Evil, Shield of Faith, Turn Undead. Tier 2, Augury, Bless, Blind/Deafen, Cleansing Weapon, Smite, Zone of Truth. Tier 3, Command, Later Rest, Mass Cure, Rebuke, Unholy Restoration, Speak with Dead. Tier 4, Commune, Control Water, Flame Strike, Pillar of Salt, Regenerate, Wrath. Tier 5, Divine Vengeance, Dominion, Heal, Judgment, Plane Shift, and Prophecy. And I like the fact that these are like very short lists. I like that it's not overwhelming. I feel like sometimes I look at all of the spells that are available in like making like a character in like D&D and I'm like, oh my god, this is a nightmare. I hate having to choose. Your wizard spell list, tier 1, Alarm, Burning Hands, Charm Person, Detect Magic, Featherfall, Floating Disc, Cold Portal, Light, Mage Armor, Magic Missile, Protection from Evil, Sleep. Tier 2, Acid Arrow, Alter Self, Detect Thoughts, Fixed Object, Hold Person, Invisibility, Knock, Levitate, Mirror Image, Misty Step, Silence, Web. Tier 3, Animate Dead, Dispel Magic, Fabricate, Fireball, Fly, Gaseous Form, Illusion, Lightning Bolt, Magic Circle, Protection from Energy, Sending, Speak with the Dead. Tier 4, Arcane Eye, Cloud Kill, Confusion, Control Water, Dimension Door, Divination, Pass Wall, Polymorph, Resilient Sphere, Stone Skin, Telekinesis, Wall of Force. And then Tier 5, Anti-Magic Shell, Create Undead, Disintegrate, Hold Monster, Plane Shift, Power Word Kill, Prismatic Orb, Scrying, Shape Change, Summon Extra Planar, Teleport, and Wish. And you'll notice that a lot of these are very similar, if not the same, to D&D spells. And then this just goes through all of the spells and what they actually do, including their tier level, who can cast them, the duration, range, and then what they actually do. Let's look at Alarm. Alarm is a tier 1 wizard spell. It lasts for a day. Range is close. So you touch one object, such as a door, thresholds, setting a magical alarm on it. If any creature you do not designate while casting the spell touches or crosses paths past the object, a magical bell sounds in your head. Pretty much the same. There are some differences in the spells as far as their descriptions. Yeah, I think for the most part, what I know about Shadowdark is that it basically condenses a lot of like the descriptors of like D&D spells that they're kind of pulling from. This is fairly much the same as Alarm in D&D. Augury is a tier 2 priest spell. Duration is instant. Range is self, so you cast it on yourself. You interpret the meaning of supernatural portents and omens. Ask the GM one question about a specific course of action. The GM says whether the action will lead to weal or woe. This is very similar to Augury and D&D as well. But these are all of the spells that you can take. I think it's not a super overwhelming list, but I think that it gives you enough to really work with and to really build your character out with, which is nice. Like I said before, sometimes trying to like choose spells to pick in like D&D is just like super overwhelming. Where I'm like, I think I need help. Alcohol. Oh my god. It's just gone forever, huh? Damn, look at this fucking illustration. Look at this little guy. Well, he's not little. He's a big guy. Look at him. What are you doing? Okay. And then we get to gameplay. So this is a little bit of a example of an interaction. So adventuring, crawlers, that's what you guys are, that's what the players are called. Those who dare the lost halls and caverns of the Shadowdark are called by many names. Crawlers, delvers, explorers, adventurers, treasure hunters. In this chapter, you'll learn how to crawl with the best of them, whether you're exploring a lightless barrow mound or the shrouded forest of El. The rules herein will guide you. Outside the sheet, the first step to crawling is understanding your environment and imagining an action you want to take. Don't simply scour your character sheet for ideas and options. Your crawling career depends on the ability to think outside the sheet. Imagine what you would really do if you were in your character's situation. Do you see a suit of armor in an alcove? Maybe you lift the helm visor and make sure nothing is looking back at you. Do you hear faint voices behind a rotting wooden door? Maybe you creep up and press your ear against it to hear what's happening on the other side. Is a band of orcs chasing you and your companions down a hallway? Maybe tearing the decrepit tapestries from the walls will hamper their pursuit. None of the above ideas are listed on the character sheet, although you should use your stats, spells, gear, and talents. Don't limit yourself only to those. Again, I like the fact that there is an emphasis on thinking outside of the box, thinking creatively, and that not everything is going to lead to combat, and sometimes what you want to do is avoid combat. Crawling in my skin. Onward. Rolling dice. When you have advantage on it, it means you're in a strong position to succeed. So to roll with advantage, you roll twice and use the better result. Disadvantage means that you're in a strong position to fail. So you roll twice and take the worst result. Canceling, if you have both advantage and disadvantage on a roll, they cancel each other out. Natural 20, when a d20 die roll shows a 20, what you're doing succeeds to your maximum capacity and attack roll automatically hits and is a critical hit. Natural 1, when a d20 die rolls shows 1, what you're doing fails to a maximum capacity and attack roll automatically misses and might even strike an ally. The d6 decider, if there's a random chance for an outcome, such as whether a drop torch goes out, the GM calls for a d6 roll. A 1 to 3 results in the worst outcome for the players, and a 4 to 6 results in the better one. Too much combat is why. Yeah, I agree, creature. Like, I was actually talking, so I'm putting on a Lancer one-shot for my VTM crew in July, and one of the players asked me what kind of the makeup of the session would be like, what of the one-shot would be like how much do they have to really think about like the mechanical aspects of their mech and making sure like if they want to like min-max or something like that. And I was like, well, the majority of the game is going to be RP and investigation, and then you're going to have a singular combat at the end. So I was like, I don't really like combat in my TTRPGs. I don't mind combat occasionally, but I think sometimes gameplay just gets really bogged down by combat a lot of the times, and I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to sit there for like 4 hours in a combat and then end in the middle of a round. End in like the middle of a round and be like, okay, now next week we have to come back and it's going to be another 2 hours of combat before we're able to like actually get to stuff that I care about. Nat 20 on skill rolls. Thoughts? I actually kind of... I think that a nat 20 on a skill roll should be rewarded as long as it is appropriate. But at the same token, if you're going to take a nat 20 on a skill roll, you also have to take a nat 1 on a skill roll. You know? Like, I think if the characters, and I always like kind of go to this specific example, if the characters are in like a library and they're searching for information and they roll a nat 20, I'm going to give them a little bit more information. Like I'm going to reward that nat 20. However, like if they rolled like a nat 1, I think honestly what I would do is give them the wrong information. Like if you're like searching for information and you roll a nat 1, I'm not going to just make it so that you don't find the information. I'm going to make it so that you find completely incorrect information, but you don't know that. I like crunchy combat games, but I just think it yeah. Like I don't mind, like, you know, I don't mind like Maisie. Relax. I don't mind you know, some combat in a session, just as long as it's not like if it's getting to like over an hour of combat, I'm like, okay, let's kind of move this along, please, everyone. think it's about expectation. If you're anticipating RP and get 3 hours of combat, it's like getting OJ when you expected milk. Yeah. Like that's like something, and like I go over that, especially in like campaigns and stuff when I'm setting up either campaigns or miniseries, one-shots, especially like for stream games. And I think at this point, you guys know kind of what to expect, like for the community one-shots. You guys kind of know what to expect for those and like the kind of DM I am. But for like series and stuff, I'm very upfront about what I find the most satisfying and gratifying in a TTRPG. And it's not combat. I think in terms of like mechanics and everything, it is very nice to throw combat at the players and have them be able to highlight their prowess and certain abilities and skills that are pretty much combat focused. And I like to do that. But I also like to do that in a way where it's more RP based as well. I don't necessarily want to rely on like combat. Maisie. In Pathfinder, we had 3-hour combats. I hated it. I always expected death in the one-shots. Yeah, I mean, like in the Pathfinder game that I played, like it was, you know, kind of combat after combat. And like Pathfinder is really crunchy. So it was like, oof, like, can we get a little bit of a break here? Give some RP as a treat, please. I would play a D&D that was pure combat, but I'd go in expecting that. Yeah, like if I were to do like Tomb of Horrors or something, like if I were to be playing in like a Tomb of Horror game or like Dungeon of the Mad Mage or something, and I volunteered for that and I knew, hey, this is a dungeon crawl. I'm going into a dungeon crawl. I'm okay with that. But like, I've been in games where it's like marketed as something else. And then like you're actually playing and you realize, hey, this isn't actually what I signed up to do. That's crazy. Joel should have used his combat prowess against the T-Rex. Well, he sure should, shouldn't he? Luck tokens. Sometimes the GM awards a luck token to a player for exceptional role-playing, heroism, or just plain coolness. Big sacrifices, moving speeches, or incredibly daring maneuvers might be worthy of luck tokens, whether or not the character's actions were successful. Each player can only have 1 luck token at a time. You can cash in a luck token or reroll any roll you just made. You must use the new result. You can also give your luck token to a companion. I like the fact that they allow giving luck tokens to your companions, because sometimes a companion fails at a very crucial roll and you're like, fuck, we really needed you to succeed on that roll. How many to give? The GM might award 2 to 3 new luck tokens per player during the course of a session with a pulpy, heroic feel. Alternatively, the GM might not want to give out any new luck tokens during a game session that is grim, difficult, and dark. And then here is kind of what you would use for each stat. So strength, smashing open locked doors, bending the bars of a prison, lifting a large rock, dexterity, disabling a tripwire without activating it, scaling a sheer castle wall, constitution, holding your breath, withstanding intense pain, resisting the effects of poison, intelligence, giving first aid, recalling the path through a twisting maze, finding food and water, wisdom, spotting a well-hidden enemy, determining the direction of a faint noise, deciphering the sounds on the other side of a door, charisma, performing ventriloquism, applying a disguise, rallying allies who are terrified by a monster. But there are all kinds of... Yes, there are opportunities in like Dungeon of a Mad Mage, but I feel like that is definitely a game, like, because I've played Waterdeep Dragon Heist. I don't know that I would ever want to play Dungeon of a Mad Mage, because that is very much like dungeon crawl in comparison to like Dragon Heist, which very much investigation. There is obviously combat involved, but like you could still go like a session or two in Dragon Heist without having to like do any sort of combat. I love the system. Plus, the book is beautiful. The art, the hardcover design, easy readable typeface. Yes, I was just saying that we were talking about the art, how I love this style of art, like the etching style of art. It's so good, and especially like the old school design of it. Very, very chef's kiss. Welcome on in, Geek Ledger. We are learning Shadowdark for the first time. It's not the first time that I played Shadowdark, but I will be running Shadowdark in 2 weeks. So I wanted to learn how to actually run it and not just be a player. Making checks, one to roll. Usually you succeed at what you're trained to do without needing to roll. So again, here's this emphasis on when there is a risk of failure is when you're going to ask for a roll. If you take the time to scan the sky for threats or examine a stretch of wall for a secret door, you simply succeed. Social encounters usually rely on what you say rather than charisma checks. Narrating a moving speech or using secret information you gather to influence an NPC does not require a check to succeed. And I think like having, and this can be like a little difficult when it comes to if you're playing with someone who's not particularly good at, or not even good at RP, but maybe a bit uncomfortable with RP. Something that I like to do in those cases is, if someone's not really, if they're trying to have like a conversation with another with an NPC, trying to convince them of something, but they can't quite get the words out right, something I like to do is to ask them, what would you like to do and how would you like to accomplish that? And not make it so that they're kind of forced to on the fly improv, like come up with like this amazing speech that is gonna like move someone. But if a player is like, yeah, I want to convince them to kind of let me, like if you're trying to talk to like a shopkeeper and they're like, yeah, I want to convince them to, you know, give me a percentage off. And I want to say that like, you know, doing so is going to be really helpful for me. And I'm trying to accomplish this really great feat to help, you know, the village and everything. And having this item would help me do that. I'm going to take that from the player and I'm going to be like, yeah, you're going to be able to do that. Like, I don't think that requiring a roll for every social encounter is super productive, nor do I think punishing someone who is uncomfortable with RP because they're not able to successfully RP according to like made up standards is particularly beneficial. Roleplay, not roleplay. Exactly. I currently have the core rulebook along with some other bits and bobs in my cart, just waiting for my next paycheck to come in later this week. My GM let me borrow his while we played a one shot, and I can't help but praise the system in the book. It's so good. It's so well laid out. It's like so easy to follow. It's not like super overwhelming either. A lot of the information is just so concisely given to you. Or is it role play? Wink. I've got it's the premium version of like the original core book. I don't have anything else. Oh, actually I did buy, no, I didn't buy. I think I got this for free. One Shots in the Dark on itch. It's like a series of one shots that for you to run. I did get that on itch because that's one of the one shots I'm going to be running in like 2 weeks. But I don't have like any of the other like supplements or anything. I know that they have the what is it, the West Marches Kickstarter. I don't know if that's done right now or if there's still time left to back that. But the world and like the system is just so good. It's so finely condensed where you don't really have to, I'm not worried about like the crunch or anything. Let's see. So again, we went through the difficulty class before. Contested checks. If multiple creatures are working against each other on a conflicting task, a contested check decides who succeeds. To make a contested check, each participant rolls one relevant stat check at the same time. Even if it's not their turn, the highest result wins. Reroll ties. I got PDFs of the first 3 curse scrolls. 6 days left on the Kickstarter. Nice. Okay. So there's still time on the Kickstarter. Let me take a sip of this some more. It's really sweet, guys. I don't know if I like it. I don't know. I'm not like a sweet drink person. Time, real time. Time passes in the game world at the same pace it's passing in the real world. 1 minute or hour of game time is equal to 1 minute or hour in real time. This matters for tracking light sources because most light sources only last for 1 hour of real time. If you can't track real time in your game, assume 1 hour is equal to 10 rounds. Turns and rounds. A turn is a player's moment to describe what their character does to the GM. Some turns need a bit of room to breathe. A character who is speaking with someone can make a few reasonable exchanges back and forth. A round completes when each person has taken 1 turn. Time passes. Every moment in the game doesn't have to be accounted for in real time. For example, if the characters want to spend 10 minutes examining a room from top to bottom, the GM and the players can agree that time passes. When time passes, the GM and the players move any timers down by that amount. Minutes pass. Effects with a duration of rounds expire. The GM rolls 1 random encounter check that occurs on a 1 to 3 on a d6 while this time is passing. Hours, days pass. Effects with a duration shorter than the time passed expire. The GM uses overland travel rules to check for encounters that occur while this time is passing. After resolving encounters, the game world fast forwards to the new point in time. And I like that it's like accounting for like real world time. There's a lot going on over there. The cat's got up to some fuck shit, I think. Whoa, relax. Whoa, relax. Contemplating backing the West Marches campaign. It's got like a week left, I think. My only problem is there's a stretch goal for every physical backer getting a premium version of the Minotaur and the Scarlet Citadel Adventure from the Quick Start set, but I just couldn't put them all together on my bookshelf with the standard edition of the core. That would drive me crazy. And then there's the premium book that would drive me. Yeah, that's fair. Turn order. GM establishes initiative or the order in which the players act. Everyone rolls a d20 and adds their dex modifier. The GM adds the highest dex modifier of any monsters. If relevant, the person who rolled the highest takes the first turn, and the turn order moves clockwise from that individual. Freeform mode, initiative need not be strict. Some GMs keep only a loose round robin, allowing the players to decide their turn order and actions before circling back to the GM's turn. Players might declare their actions as a group or act simultaneously, and the GM will need to adjudicate. I think I would let the players decide their turn order. Because sometimes it really sucks. What is wrong with you? Relax. Sometimes it really sucks when you have like something that is like very dependent on you going first in the party, and then someone else goes and they completely fuck up your turn. So I think that I would allow the players to figure out who their turn order. Player turn, player counts down any personal timers for spells and other effects. The player takes an action and may move up to near, split up in any way. The player can move near again if skipping an action. The GM describes what happens as a result of the player's turn. The GM turn, the GM counts down any timers not tracked by players. The GM checks for a random encounter if needed. The GM takes action and makes movements for any relevant creatures and environmental effects. The GM describes what the characters notice as a result of steps 1 through 3. Crawling in my skin. The Shadowdark. The Shadowdark is any place where darkness, danger, and myth reign supreme. It could be a crumbling ruins, ancient mountains, strongholds, or mysterious towers. It could be a gloomy forest, trap-laden pyramids, or haunted sea caves. As long as the characters are going into danger with swords, spells, and torches ready, they're going into the Shadowdark. Crawling grounds. Characters are in crawling grounds while not in combat. They are exploring, talking, and engaging with the environment. Vision. All characters need light to see, but that's not true for the darkness-adapted beings of the Shadowdark. Note that any area outside of the light sources, illumination is in total darkness. Light sources. Most light sources last for up to an hour of real time and illuminate a limited area. Players have 2 options when lighting more than 1 light source at a time. The newer light source rides along on the current timer. Extinguish all old light sources. Start a new timer with the fresh light source. The GM can make rulings counter to the above. The purpose is to make tracking light timers simple, not frustrating. Total darkness. While in total darkness, a creature who is not darkness adapted has disadvantage on tasks it undertakes that require sight. Also, the environment becomes deadly. The GM checks for a random encounter every crawling round. So you want to make sure that you guys are in light, because bad things are going to happen. I do hope they release a hardcover standard edition of it. That would be cool. Man, I love it. Even if because I use like PDFs mostly for a lot of my games, I still be loving having like just hardcover copies of books. Don't want to get eaten by a grue. It's gonna get you giblets. Movement distances are broken between close, near, and far. We've kind of gone over all of this. Swim half speed requires a strength check in rough water. Make a con check each round. Wait, we already did that. We already went over that. Regroup during crawling rounds. The GM can allow the players to regroup. PCs with reasonable reach of each other can come together into a marching order. They can also move as a group, taking a round each time. When needed, initiative shifts back to turns. Conditions. Some effects impose a condition on a character such as blindness or immobility. Advantage and disadvantage applied to most situations. Use common sense. Use common sense, guys. Actions. While crawling, a character can take actions that might include prying a gem from a statue, sneaking up on a slumbering manticore, tapping on a suspicious wall to check for a hidden door, scanning a room for signs of hidden enemies, giving a rousing speech to a group of fearful townsfolk. Encounters. An encounter occurs when any challenge presents itself that stops the character's progress. Resting. Injured characters can rest to recover from their wounds. To rest, a character must consume a ration and sleep for 8 hours. Sleep can be broken up for light and routine tasks, such as taking a turn on watch. Interruption. Each stressful interruption of rest, including combat, requires an affected character to make a DC 12 Constitution check. On a failure, the character consumes a ration but gains no benefit from resting. Success. A character who successfully rests regains all lost hit points and recovers any stat damage. Additionally, some talents, spells, or items regain their ability to be used after a successful rest. Danger level. Characters can rest anywhere, but doing so inside a dungeon or perilous environment carries a high chance of failure due to the risk of random encounter. While the characters are resting in a dangerous environment, the game master checks for random encounters using the overland travel cadence. Unsafe, check every 3 hours. Risky, check every 2. And deadly, check every hour. Campfire. In many cases, adventurers need a light source while resting. Characters can combine 3 torches into a campfire that can't be moved once lit. The campfire lasts up to 8 hours while at least one character remains near to it, and it casts light out to a near distance. Not typically a hardcover guy. I typically wait until a fiction book gets a paperback or a mass market paperback, and I choose between the two depending on the covers, but when it comes to TTRPG books, I typically prefer hardcovers. So I'm waiting for the physical copy of Mothership RPG Rules until we get a hardcover edition of the zine rules. Yeah, I have the I actually don't mind because I have the deluxe edition of Mothership with like all of like the stuff in it. I don't mind. I also have like pamphlets and stuff for Mothership. I don't mind that there's no like hardcover copies for that yet. I probably will pick up a hardcover copy when that does come out, but I don't mind. I don't mind paperbacks for TTRPGs, but I do prefer hardcovers because I can be a little rough on my books sometimes. So sometimes the hardcovers are beneficial just because I'm a little rough on my shit. So Mothership was fun. Plus I lived. You did live. Sometimes that's all that matters. At least 3 of you lived. Stealth and surprise, hiding and sneaking. Creatures who are hiding or sneaking must succeed on a dexterity check to go undetected by other creatures within eyesight or earshot. GM determines frequency and difficulty. GM might secretly roll that check for a character if knowledge of the outcome impacts the situation. Hiding limitations. Creatures can't hide while other creatures are able to see them, even at a casual glance. So that I can still see you. GIF. Samfi was never alive, so he didn't die. Technically, he didn't die. It might also be impossible to hide if there's nowhere for a creature to stay out of sight. Detecting. Detecting a hiding or sneaking creature requires the searcher to actively look or listen. Looking in the right place automatically reveals a hidden creature. Otherwise, the searcher must succeed on a wisdom check to perceive a sneaking or hiding creature. Surprise. A creature who begins its turn undetected has the advantage of surprise. If combat hasn't started yet, those with surprise take 1 turn before the combat initiative roll. A creature has advantage on attack rolls against surprised targets. Attacking from hiding gives away the attacker's position afterwards unless the GM determines otherwise. I don't get that reference. What's that from? Oh my god, what is that from? It's some anime, like, but not, I don't think it's an anime. It's, there's this, like, guy hiding, like, on a building, and then, like, there's this, like, floating skull hiding on a building, and there's this floating skull, and the skull is just like, I can still see you. I can't remember. Didn't Joel's character die? I mean, I'm pretty sure he did. If I'm remembering correctly, I think that, like, you know, he just did something stupid and, like, ended up dying. Combat. So combat rounds begin. You determine surprise. So if there's a surprise round, you go through the surprise round. Combat initiative. The GM calls for a new initiative. Everyone makes a dexterity check. The GM uses the highest dexterity modifier of any monsters. Get out of my face. The person with the highest result. Hey, thanks for the follow. Person with the highest result takes the first turn. Turns go clockwise to that person. Combat turns. Characters take one action and move near on their turn, splitting up the movement however they want. Characters can move again if they don't take an action. So actions that you can have on your turn, you can make a melee attack, you can make a ranged attack, you can cast a spell, you can improvise, or you can multitask. And multitasking means that you can do a small parallel task on their turn, such as standing up, speaking, activating a magic item, or quaffing a potion. This doesn't typically use their action. Damage, when you hit a target with an attack or spell, you damage it, roll your weapon or spell's damage dice and relevant bonuses. The GM subtracts the amount from the target's hit points. Knockout, you can choose to knock a creature unconscious instead of killing it if you reduce it to 0 points. Critical hit, you deal a critical hit if you roll a natural 20 on an attack or a spellcasting check. For a weapon, double its damage dice on the attack. For a spell, you may double one of its numerical effects. Terrain, attacking or casting a spell on a creature that is hiding at least half of its body behind an interposing terrain has disadvantage. If you can't see a creature at all due to terrain, you can't target it.
Enjoy your gift.
Aw, thanks, Siffy. Thanks for that gift sub. Creatures can only move half the normal distance through terrain that hampers free movement, such as ice or deep mud. That's pretty standard, I feel. Morale, enemies who are reduced to half their number can flee. Death, a character who goes to 0 HP falls unconscious and is dying. A character who goes above 0 HP wakes up and is no longer dying. And then we kind of talked about the death timer and stabilize, and then the death, a character who perishes is retired from the game. Overland travel. The world is still perilous for fortune seekers outside the gloomy Shadowdark. When traveling overland, these rules add to the crawling rules. Turns and times. The game moves in initiative order as normal while traveling overland, and groups often travel in chunks that comprise several hours. Use the time passes rules as needed. Again, we check for random encounters depending on the environment. If it's unsafe, you check every 3 hours. Risky 2. Deadly, you check every 1 hour. Light, if needed, determine how much light time remains on the current light source by rolling 1d6 times 10 minutes. There is rarely total darkness outside, even at night. Travel per day. PCs can travel up to 8 hours a day. They must pass increasing con checks to push further. Hexes are 6 miles across. So here's basically the amount of time it takes to cross a hex, depending on the travel method that you're using. And then navigations. PCs in unfamiliar territory must have their navigator make an intelligence check upon exiting a hex. On a failure, the group moves into a random adjacent hex. Food and water. PCs can go 3 days without consuming a ration. They take 1 con damage each day after that with a death at 0. A PC can forage for 1 ration per day with an intelligence check. So how I'm reading that is if you are going multiple days without food, so you're going to take 1 con damage, which basically means that your con is going to go below. It's going to subtract 1 from your con score for every 3 days. For every day after the initial 3 days. Until you reach 0, and then you're dead. RIP. Downtime. Between adventures, you can choose to undertake 1 downtime activity. Carousing? Carousing is a way to convert the coin you've earned into XP and other benefits. You'll likely come out of a carousing event with a new NPC contact, whether friend or foe. You might even acquire a new magic item if you're bold and lucky enough. Carousing can last for several days of in-game time, so the GM will use the time passes rules as needed. If you want to play out a gambling scene in detail, you can use the Wizards and Thieves game on page 94 to determine who wins a bet and how many valuables change hands. Learning. Your character may wish to learn a new skill during downtime. In order to learn a new skill, you must find a capable instructor who is willing to teach you. You can't typically learn another class's or ancestry's unique talents, but you can learn auxiliary skills. Examples include a new language or how to ride a sandworm using a harness. Learning enables you to do new actions or gives you advantage on certain checks. Work with the GM to determine whether you can try to learn what you can try to learn. Then make an extreme DC 18 intelligence check. If you succeed, you learn the new skill. If you fail, you can try again as your next downtime activity, this time lowering the difficulty of the intelligence check by 1 step. What is this, Dune? And then this is things that you can do. Carousing. I don't know how to pronounce that. And you wizards and thieves. Hello. Hi. You're in danger. Ouse. Carousing. But I think... Okay. Macy also thinks that it is perhaps time to wrap things up. I don't know if we'll come back to this. I feel like I've gotten enough information to run the one-shot. And I feel comfortable running it. And that really was the goal of today, was to make sure that I felt comfortable running the one-shot next week. I think we've accomplished that. I think we're good to go. I'm very excited for this. Easy, yeah, it's easy enough if you run 5e. Not worried about it. I'm pretty excited. I think it's gonna be fun. What do we got coming up the rest of the week? We'll be off the next 2 days. No Mass Effect on Saturday, unfortunately. Joel and his dad are gonna be working on stuff down here. So I'm going to make myself not be in the way as much as possible. But we will be back on Sunday. We'll be doing some art on Sunday. Maybe some more mech art. I don't know. I was really into doing some mech art, so we might do a little bit more of that. Maybe. I don't know. Whatever the wind takes me, honestly. But that's it for me. Thank you for joining me today, guys. I hope you learned a little something. And if you didn't learn anything, I hope you just had a great time. Isn't that what we all want in the end, is to have a great time? I'd say so. I'm gonna go now. I'll talk to everyone later. Goodbye.